Don't worry everyone, it's not death by PowerPoint presentation, it's literally just a few visuals to help me tell a little bit of a story to you guys. So it's not going to be death by PowerPoint presentation. Put you up there. Can you see my screen okay?
Yes.
Great. All right, today I want to cover 3 Ps, as it were, that are found to be particularly useful. The first being PR, and it's why Anita is so important to our community. The second is around partners and partnerships, and there's some interesting pros and cons to that. And ultimately, it all wraps up into pivoting your business and future-proofing the current situation and any situations to come in the next few years. I think we're going to be seeing COVID effect for some time to come. What I would just say is, if anyone wants to ask a question or contribute during the session, just stick it into chat. Anita's watching, and then she'll duly interrupt me and let me know that someone wants to ask a question or say something. And I really welcome that as well. It's much better when it's interactive. So just a quick intro into who we are and who I am. I'm Helen, obviously, and we run a sales-focused marketing agency, and we've been in business for 6 years. Regrettably, we're not dissimilar to the story that Anita shared with us a minute ago, in that we fall through all the gaps of government help at the moment and very much are having to stand on our own feet in the coronavirus environment, which has been quite challenging. But we are a sales-focused agency, and we help businesses make sales and marketing make more sense, and as a result of that, make more money and be more profitable. I really enjoy my job, and I love what I do. I wanted to just share some stats with you to give all of this a little bit of context. In the UK, there are actually well over 2 million SMEs and micro businesses. And to give that a little bit of life, 1 in 10 people in this country are employed by a small business. So when you think about that, that's actually quite powerful. We're often referred to as the backbone of the British economy, which is why it's so frustrating that so many of us fall through the gaps of support with the government, but that's another story. Typically, we're experts in our field. I've had a look at the people here today, and there are people with really strong skill sets who are really, really brilliant at what they do. And we're experts for a reason. We've spent years training to get to this point where we felt brave enough to run our own businesses, employ people, and invest, and so on and so forth. So this COVID crisis has come along, and everyone's advice at the beginning was, you need to pivot. Well, how on earth do 2 million businesses who are already experts in their field pivot overnight and successfully in the middle of a coronavirus environment? That's quite a big ask. I'm just going to share a few points around what happened to us, hopefully for your amusement value, but also I'm sure that it will resonate with a lot of you, having had your own journey with this too. So there was a painful 24-hour period for us as a marketing agency, a service agency. And that period started on the morning of Monday, the 16th of March, and it ended on, well, it didn't end, but it came to a painful conclusion at the end of the day on Tuesday, the 17th of March. So we started the week feeling quite positive, even though we were in some sort of a semi-lockdown. It wasn't really that serious, and people weren't really taking it that seriously at that point in time, including the government. We had secured about 150 grand's worth of agreed business. We just didn't have it on contract. We had a 3-year growth strategy plan, which had been investigated and rigorously examined by a couple of different coaches. We'd won a place with the NatWest Accelerator program, which was really exciting. And we also realized that the only way we could scale the business is if we stopped working in it every day and spent more time working on it. So we'd hired people to work with us and take up the strain of the day-to-day so that we could do more development work. We had a decent number of clients on attractive retainers. And actually we had traditionally had a little bit of trouble finding good people with the right skills when we needed them. We'd always managed to do it, but it presented a challenge, and we needed to make sure we put time into doing that. On Monday the 16th at around about 8 p.m, Boris Johnson made his first address to the UK, and it was very formal. We woke up on the morning of Tuesday, the 17th of March, feeling really quite concerned and a bit shell-shocked. I'm sure that's really familiar. By the end of the day on the 17th, we'd lost 150K's worth of agreed business, and we were down to 0 prospects. The phone didn't stop ringing, and it was everyone just phoning up to say they couldn't proceed. We transformed from a growth strategy to a survival strategy with the idea that simply surviving was the new goal. We'd resigned our office space, although actually I'm still here, so a few things changed. And we had to let those freelancers go, which was very upsetting. We'd spent quite some time finding them and finding good fit people. And by the end of that month, all of our retainers had actually reduced by 90% of revenue. So it was incredibly painful and worrying time. And one of the biggest challenges that we had as a marketing agency was the market was absolutely flooded with people who were very talented and skilled in their area. Suddenly there are probably 4 times as many people as had been sort of previously around. And a lot of those people were offering their skills for free to try and hook some business. So that's a very, very challenging environment. Just going to go to the next page. And then this happened. So these are my lovely, slightly grotty looking children, Eddie and Elsa. And just as we started to think, what is our pivot strategy? What are we going to do? We had the news that our children would be coming home and staying at home for an indefinite amount of time, and that we would be expected to homeschool them. I'm sure this is very familiar, but it meant for my husband and I, as partners who work in the business together, that our capacity to work was suddenly halved because the kids are just that little bit too young to actually take care of themselves day in, day out and do their own homeschooling without support. So we lost 50% of our capacity. That was a little bit of a blow. And I'm a bit reluctant to go to the next slide, but I'm going to do it anyway. And then this happens. This is a very dramatic and over-the-top picture of me in hospital. But unfortunately, I did contract suspected coronavirus, and I ended up being very poorly and spending 2 weeks laid up in bed with fever, which ultimately culminated in me ending up spending the day in hospital and having to have a lot of tests. It was not very pleasant. All of this happened at the beginning of the lockdown, and it really did put us on the back foot a little bit with regards to progressing our business. But this is a phrase I love. Necessity is the mother of all invention. And I bet amongst the audience today that you could really tell some stories around your experience with this over the last couple of months. But in summary, the market was flooded with talent. The market was also in absolute chaos with everyone withdrawing spend. And we found ourselves housebound. Actually, we were in isolation for weeks on end because Richard was ill, and then I was ill, and then one of the kids was ill, and then the other kid was ill. So we literally found ourselves in enforced isolation for quite a few weeks back to back. And typically we found ourselves needing to feed our family, but unable to go out to the shop and buy food. It wasn't a great scenario. But we had an idea, and it all began with a beer, but it's sadly a beer I didn't drink. I heard a story on the radio about a craft beer maker who typically supplied restaurants and cafes in the local area. And overnight with COVID, he had lost 100% of his business. It was a really devastating story. But he'd realised if he could build a quick e-commerce platform, he could actually sell his beer direct to consumer, and within a certain radius, he could actually deliver his bottles. And he found within about a 24-hour period, he was actually overwhelmed with business. And this got me to thinking, if it worked for a beer company, I'm sure it could work for a lot of independent food and drinks companies. And I said to my husband, despite being quite feverish at the time, I've got a business idea and I really think we should invest into it. And I think we should launch a free-to-use platform which allows independent food businesses to create a listing and tell the local community that they are open for business. This was at a time where you could not go to a supermarket and buy toilet roll or flour or cat food or pasta. So it seemed like a good idea. And in 5 days flat, we worked with an epic freelance team of people who just really worked hard, and we created Find Tasty. Find Tasty, I'm just going to quickly show it to you, is it's just a pretty straightforward website where you can search for whatever you want by location and find a supplier in your local area. Now this did cost us to build, but we've given it to the industry free of charge, which has raised a few questions. Why would you do that? But we felt at a time where, as a marketing agency, a lot of people were giving away consultancy and services free. We actually shouldn't do that. We should do something different and try to create a PRable story that would give us profile whilst doing some good. So we created this platform. And that led to a lot of PR opportunities. So we've spoken to Fiona Scott, we've spoken to Anita, we've spoken to a number of other people who could help us with this and have been brilliant allies. And this is the first thing to kind of really drive home today, the importance of PR as part of a pivot strategy. We did a lot of PR. We did a lot of quite crazy PR. I won't go into all the details now, but we experimented with quite a few different things. We wrote quite a vulnerable story as a business owner, which was published in the Daily Mail. We did some slightly eclectic video work on LinkedIn, which we didn't know if it would fly or not. Some of it really did. We worked with quite a lot of press and online and in print, and that was very effective. And we approached a lot of organisations to see if they would collaborate with us. What we learned from that massive effort of outward bound PR is people want to talk right now. People are in confusion, people are in disarray, people have got ideas, they've got things they want to do, and people want to talk. And this resulted to a lot of time spent Zooming complete and random strangers. And what I learned from that is you need to be able to evaluate quite quickly if the people that you talk to are, yes, this is a viable opportunity, no, this person is nuts, and this person I really like, but I can't quite work out how I would work with them, but I might just keep talking because maybe there's an opportunity. But PR leads to lots of conversations. And this leads to the exploration of what we're calling the sharing economy. I think Anita described it that way, and it's a really good way to label it. The sharing economy is by far one of the quickest and safest way to pivot your business. If you try to pivot on your own, there's a lot of risk, there's a need for investment. And also, if you could pivot your business, we're all generally speaking quite entrepreneurial as business owners. Wouldn't you be doing it already? So to simply be able to pivot in COVID sort of seems like a slightly stupid suggestion, but collaboration allows you to do it in a way that can be incredibly effective. I think not rushing into relationships is important. And you should talk to a lot of people and pick the right partners. You should have an idea about what you want to achieve. One thing that's critical is making sure that you've got appropriate legal paperwork and framework in place. You need to make sure that if you are going to share and collaborate with another business, you understand the revenue model and any exit categories and clauses, and also any IP ownership should be very, very clearly outlined. Obviously, be brave and experiment, that's pretty straightforward. And there's a lot to be said for creating a minimum viable product to test the market and get proof of concept before you go large with a partner. This does depend on your industry and what kind of product or service you sell, whether you're high street or service-led, whether you're hotels or restaurants. But certainly just looking at a proof of concept before you go large is a really good thing to do. Kind of relating to the point earlier on around legal paperwork and getting agreements in place, just be really careful what you give away at the early stage of a communication with a potential partner. Make sure that the balance is fair and that you're getting something out of it that's equal to what they're getting out of it, or if it's not equal, that your revenue share reflects that. But there are three key things around sharing economy and collaboration with other brands. It's the quickest way to increase brand recognition for your business. You get a lovely sense of teamwork, you're already working with experts who know what they're doing, and it can be highly profitable if you get it right. It's not new, but it's probably something smaller businesses and local businesses haven't done so much of, but there are some cracking examples of big brands who've done it. The Smeg and Dolce & Gabbana one always makes me laugh. It's such an interesting product combination. They didn't sell a lot of units, but they got a phenomenal amount of PR for that collaboration. And they did sell some units. Lego collaborate with just about everybody, and it deepens the relationship often between the film producers and Lego and the consumer because it extends the longevity of the product. GoPro and Red Bull are such an obvious collaboration for events and also for user-generated content. So it's not new, you just need to figure out how to make it work with a potential partner. So all of this is great theory, and it's easy for me to sit here and say this. But what does it actually mean for us, and where has it left us as a small business struggling with kids at home and all of the challenges that we've all faced? Well, I've had a very interesting journey of talking to some very interesting people. And it's actually put us in a position where we're now sitting on around about 300K's worth of prospect business. I will stress that that is prospect business, not agreed business. I am doing a lot of work, a lot of pitch work. I'm very, very busy. But until the fat lady's singing and I've got a signed contract, it doesn't mean anything at all. So I just want to be clear that that is work in progress. All of our clients that we work with have been retained, but we've moved to a fully digital platform. And actually, I'm finding my relationships with my client is more efficient and more productive as a result. So that's been a really interesting outcome. We are recruiting, which I didn't expect to be doing at this stage of the coronavirus lockdown. And we are exploring some partnerships, in particular one with a larger agency that's based here in Digital Mansion, that's opening doors to bigger clients with us and bigger opportunities to collaborate. I don't know if that will be successful, ask me in 6 months' time, but it certainly feels like it's progressive and it could be a very positive thing. Find Tasty as a standalone brand. We are in the middle of negotiating and exploring a number of partnerships around a technology push, and potentially with one of Fiona's contacts, looking at some sort of a foodie launch that might be regional, but we're not too sure about the details of that yet. So it's rewarding and exciting to feel like I'm part of a number of different things which could generate opportunities for me and for our partners. But it is all experimental and it isn't without risk. But yeah, in summary, I think when it comes to the sharing economy, it's really important to put some content out there that's real. And I love, just harking back to Fiona's content again, I love some of her social posts that she's been doing recently, just reflecting on the need to be honest, real and robust with what you put out on social at the moment. There are a lot of people making out that everything's fine and it isn't. It's kind of okay to be a little bit vulnerable in a measured way and be honest. It is tough out there, but building in a real story with some positivity is a great way to approach this. It's a no-brainer, but say yes to everything. Say yes to everything. Say yes to everyone who wants to talk to you, and then evaluate. Be selective. It's a really easy way to scale up by building up the teams that you work with. But most importantly, test, evaluate, and move everything that you do. Make sure that it will work before you commit fully. And that's it. That's my experience so far. Like I say, it is experimental. I hope that it will work for us and it's a survival strategy, and I hope that we're helping other businesses survive as well. And I'm really open to talking to anyone who would like to talk about any elements around this. And also, I'd love to talk to Anita about how we can support that. And that's it, I'm done.
Okay. If anyone has any questions, would you like to raise your hand or?
Oh, I've just realised that because you made me the administrator, I've got all the chats and there's questions in the chats.
Aha, there we go. Well, we can do that, that's fine. I will.
Thank you. So, yeah, I'll just really quickly give it. So Fiona's commented that Saturday is the UN Small and Micro Business Day globally, so it's a strong opportunity to talk on social. And the UN believes that our sector is critical to the future global economy. Well, with 1 in 10 people employed by it, I can't see how you wouldn't think that, apart from the fact our government consistently doesn't support us. Joe Wren has commented that there was a powerful chart. I'm not quite sure which one that was, I'm sorry. Someone else, yeah, 2 Progress team, typical example of what's happened to SMEs. Yeah, it was pretty typical. Soul Spas had to go. And Fiona's going to share the link. There we go.
Brilliant. So Madeline at Soul Spa is another interesting one of how her business has developed. So she launched towards the end of 2019. So it's a space for meditation and complementary therapies in Bath, and where she was having lots of mums and individuals going in, there's been a need more than ever for the business community to have some time out, and she's been working with teams and some really large organisations doing meditation sessions online. So I think everybody is diversifying but in different ways, and it's just very, very interesting to hear the stories and to get a lid on how things are changing and developing out there, really. It'd be interesting to bring in a couple of the accountants now. Mike, how are you feeling with things on the ground in Wiltshire? Mike's from Haynes Watts Accountants in Swindon. I'm going to I need to unmute you.
Do I need to give you back admin?
Yeah, that would be great. Thank you.
How do I do that? I'm sorry, I've no idea how to actually do that.
Annoyingly, it allowed me to do that a minute ago, but reclaim host, there we are. I am the host, so there we go. I'm back in the room now. Let me unmute Mike. Yes, morning, Mike.
Morning, everyone. Yeah, I think things are changing. When back in March, we found we were talking with a lot of clients, a lot of panicking clients, totally understandably, as to what was going to be available to them, what they were going to be able to do, what they weren't going to be able to do. And I think we spent the back end of March and most of April on the phones, on Zoom calls, just giving advice effectively on what people could do, where they could look for support. And it is moving on from there. And we are seeing one of the odd things, I don't know, Ian, if you've seen this as well, is we seem to be busier on compliance stuff than we were this time last year. And it's almost as everybody sat at home and thinking, well, I can't do what I should be doing. I might as well do my accounts. And all this stuff is flooding in, and we're thinking, well, hang on, this doesn't usually come in for another 6 months, which has been odd. But the project type work has started to move a little bit now from a lot of distress work, which was inevitable at the beginning, to people looking at how they're going to change their business and how they're going to move forward, and a lot of help and support for them, changing structures, getting into partnerships, and looking forward.
Ian is from Milstead Langdon Accountants in Bath. Would you echo Mike's comments?
Yeah, absolutely, Anita. Morning, everybody. Yeah, I mean, we've been flat out doing compliance work. Clients that normally bring their records in January have brought them in now, which is interesting. Even March year ends, we're doing fairly quickly for clients. And I think as Mike says, a lot of running around, advisory work, helping clients to stay in business. I think the fear really is, put a negative twist on it, is that there is going to be a crunch point soon, probably end of July, we anticipate. And certainly, we've got insolvency practitioners who are, fearing that or wanting to help clients now before the things tip over. So it's, I think the next month and a half is going to be critical for businesses, really. The furloughing scheme has helped, obviously. We've got people on furlough and yet we're still very busy, which is interesting. And just one final point, obviously the models have to change. I think Helen picked up on that in her speech there. The models will change for businesses. Will you need bigger offices? Will you need lots more people, or the people you had? And I think some businesses are taking the opportunity, given the, particularly the bigger businesses, to look at that now. But I think really we all need to look at our models.
We're seeing quite a lot of, and this is a difficult subject matter to approach, but we're seeing quite a large number of our clients talking to us and saying during the lockdown period they had 100% of their sales team on furlough, but lost, for example, only 30% of their typical sales revenue. And it raises uncomfortable questions around headcount in the sales departments and other areas of the business. And we are having uncomfortable conversations about businesses who want to adopt a stronger digital strategy around e-commerce and actually move to a better digital provision. And as a result of that, lose headcount and reduce costs. It's uncomfortable. I mean, for us, it's business, but I think the next 6 weeks are going to be a serious crunch point for a lot of businesses.
Jonathan Nee from Mackenzie & Co has got a question. I've unmuted you, or asked you to unmute.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Helen, Anita. I had a question around Digital Mansion, Helen, and your experience of your fellow digital people in the building. I've got a client in Spaces in Bath, and they're not going to be going back to Spaces, and I'm really worried and concerned about the environment that you guys have all worked in. Has been really energetic, cooperative, and I don't see people going back to those areas to work much in the future. So I just wanted to hear your thoughts on that.
Well, the Digital Mansion in Corsham is an interesting proposition. It is literally, for anyone who doesn't know it, a mansion house that was built in the early 1700s. It actually fell into disrepair, and it's now been taken over by Wiltshire Council and turned into a co-working stroke shared office type space. I'm in my office today. We're in the attic. For us, it's a lifesaver. I literally come in through the front door, go up the stairs and come into this office where there are no people. I don't encounter people in my journey. So for social distancing, it's actually brilliant. Also, as being someone who works and I have kids, I just cannot work at home. The laundry, the dishwasher, the children, the husband, the temptation to eat every 5 minutes and go in the garden, actually are very disruptive to me being productive. At least I'm honest, are disruptive to me working. So for me, being able to come into this office, and I often arrive at 7 and work till 5, and just, I work like a dog, and then I have Friday off, for example, or I have half days off. I think it depends on your personal circumstance. Interestingly, we have already seen that 2 businesses have left since lockdown, and I have spoken to the owners here about their projection for office vacancies versus acquisition. Their strategy here is very much that they will do anything to hold on to existing clients, because we are easy to retain than to try to get new clients in here at the moment. The rates here are sensible. They're actually really good, and the model is pay as you go month by month, so we're not tied in. So at any point that we decided to jettison costs, we could. But certainly co-working spaces, I just can't see how co-working spaces where you don't have a fixed desk and you need to have social distancing, for me, I wouldn't want to go into that environment right now, and I would probably prefer to work from home. So we're probably a little bit spoiled here, if I'm honest, because it's all sort of compartmentalised. But the shared spaces have all been shut, and it's very, very quiet here. It's really, really quiet. But that actually suits me just fine.
Yeah, no, that sounds a lot more flexible than spaces here in Bath. I don't know whether you've been to that particular office, but yeah, very, very difficult and very expensive, and also I think they get tied in for a lot longer as well. Just to echo some of the comments from Mike and the accountants, is that as a financial advisor, I think the last 3 months has been the busiest quarter that I've had in the last 12 months, because, as you say, people are at home, especially when you've got husbands and wives who are often business partners as well, all talking about those things that they usually don't want to get around to do. So yeah, just to echo that, I think it's been very busy for some of us, and hopefully that will help in the long run.
Yoli, you have a question.
It was really a comment on the whole co-working space thing. We have in Swindon Desk, if anyone knows it, in Old Town, but it's a very small space with massive tables, and I think that is going to be unsustainable in the medium term. However, just like Helen, I have to have an office. I cannot work from home with the family around me. It is just impossible. My husband works from home and has done for many years. But interestingly, Nationwide are only bringing 1,000 people back to their office. So lots of people are going to be working from home for the rest of this year. And Watson Petroleum, that our oldest daughter works for, Watson Fuels in Brinkworth, which Michael know, they are getting rid of a load of their office space. So my daughter has been given the option to work from home permanently, which she has taken because she wants a dog. You know,
it's long overdue. This revolution is long overdue. The ability to work from home and be effective has been massively underestimated by corporates in particular. It's refreshing to hear that. It's good for humans.
Also, I think that many bigger companies are starting to that whole thing, if you have to have a bum on a seat from 9:30 to 5:30 and monitor them, I think actually it's more productive to be task focused rather than time focused. And my bigger clients have really grasped that. This is the team, these are the tasks we need to achieve today, and achieve those tasks in that day. You know, some people might achieve those tasks in 3 hours, some people might take 8 hours, some people might do it in the evening because it fits their circumstances. And that's okay as long as the tasks get done.
And I've worked in a freelance environment for a long time. Fiona and I have worked together for a long time, and we get it that we're both juggling lots of different projects and different things, and as long as the deadline is the deadline, I don't mind if you sends work to me at 3 o'clock in the morning or 10 o'clock at night. It really doesn't matter as long as it's there for the deadline, and you just get used to a different way of working. And I think some of the larger organisations just haven't been comfortable with that, and a lot of traditional organisations as well, where many of us have been working like that for a very long time. I think the partnership stuff and some of the ways that we are going to have to change. So talking about desk co-work in Swindon, Matt's business was really quite revolutionary at the time. It was the first co-working space in Swindon, and he's a young entrepreneur, and you really want to support him and think, okay, how can we turn that business around? For example, what would be a solution moving forwards? And it kind of sounds like in some ways we all want to go to an office and shut a door and not share a kitchen and all of those things. How is that going to work moving forwards? It's just a strange one.
We've changed in our offices here. We've got rid of the event space because who knows when we're going to have an event, and we've created individual offices for the teams. We all can come back, and we created a recording studio, which is where we hold our webinars from. And really interesting, people have been coming in. We're really happy for people to use the space. People have been coming in to put their webinars out there and record things. But then a lot of the clients I'm hearing are getting rid of the offices, and the big traditional offices like Anita's talking about, they're not planning on going back until at least September, because for one, they can't even manage the social distancing in the toilets and in the kitchens, which is a massive headache for them. So I think it's definitely interesting times. And Helen, our business did exactly the same as yours. We just dive bombed overnight, but we've kept all our clients. We've pivoted a lot of clients, and we're building again. We're like you, we're recruiting at the moment. So we are sort of in that recovery phase, but I think it's a really bumpy ride still out there, especially for the SMEs. It's going to be bumpy.
I regularly wake up in the middle of the night making lists in my head about things that I need to do. I'm sure, I don't mind being really honest about this, but I'm sort of constantly carrying a level of stress that's, is there going to be a second peak? What are the long-term implications? What happens when Brexit happens? Is there going to be a depression or a recession? And how bad is that going to be? How long is it going to last for? It's this sort of constant Rolodex of thoughts that go through my head. And it's not without its stresses, but I think if you're like you're saying, if you're prepared to pivot, experiment, keep thinking ahead, collaborate, and I'd rather die trying, as it were. Terrible choice of words, but I'd rather sort of try and be successful and try everything, and at least if we can't stay in business, then at least I throw everything at it. And it's the best attitude to have, really, I think. But I do wake up most nights making a list in my head in the middle of the night at some point.
I don't think there's anybody that isn't going through that at the moment.
Can I introduce Rob Creer, who is from the Swindon and Wiltshire Growth Hub. Rob's fairly recently joined. Rob, good to see you this morning. I've not met you in person yet.
Hello, good morning, everyone. My name's Rob. I've recently joined the Growth Hub as a business navigator. Anita kindly let me join yourselves today just so I can really say that we are here to help support the businesses in Swindon and Wiltshire. So far, over the COVID-19 lockdown period, we've helped something in the region of 600 businesses with advice, support, guidance on where you can find alternative grant funding, alternative lending, as well as around apprenticeships, skills, workshops, training, all kinds of stuff. So if you want to get in contact with us, and it's been really interesting hearing some of your stories today about how you've looked to pivot, how you've looked to engage with the rest of the business community, then please get in contact with us at Growth Hub, and we can organise a chat to see what else is out there to help people. A lot of what my work is sitting down and having a chat with people to say, right, okay, where are you? Where do you want to go? really give that kind of that advice and guidance. My background, I've worked in everything from, I've run my own business, I've worked in corporates, I've worked in financial services, and I've been in the public sector in government as well. So I've pretty much done most bits and pieces. So there's lots of different skills which I can bring to the table to help you. The Growth Hub itself will be launching very shortly a new program of support, so there will be more available. It will be not just the online Growth Hub platform. If you've not visited it yet, please go and have a look at the Swindon and Wiltshire Growth Hub. Loads of information and knowledge there, but there will be more tailored business support available, and that will be launching very soon, and there'll be more information going out about that. But in the meantime, yeah, if people want to get in touch with us to find out what we can do for you or where we can signpost you for more assistance, and please do so.
I think it's just asking the question, and no question is a silly question at the moment. I think a lot of people are a bit scared about asking questions, and they've looked around online, and if they don't think that they fit certain criteria for funding, etc., then they may have shied away from it. I've applied for the discretionary grant. I probably won't get it because I'm sure there's a lot of people in the same boat, but if you're not in it, you're not going to win it, are you? So I think that's the thing out there. Right. I was going to mention that I am having a little look at the way the business exchange works moving forwards. We've changed things up quite a lot, and in terms of our postal lists now, where people aren't going into offices the same, we have reduced our copies. So where we may have delivered 5 copies into an office or 10 copies into a hotel, those have been redistributed. So we've now got really great postal lists, probably some of the best postal lists in the county, for reaching out to directors where they're named individuals that the magazines are going to. So in a strange way, my business has kind of grown and become more targeted than ever, because I can tell you 100% where those magazines are going. I feel really thankful that the business exchange can continue when so many other magazines out there, they rely on coffee shops being open, etc., and they are just not printing. My friend runs a magazine called Circus, which is a beautifully curated magazine. It's been around for a few years now, and was really going great guns in the last year or so. They launched a Bristol edition, so there's a Bath edition and a Bristol one, and Simon Tapscott, who's the owner, has been working closely with me, and we've been chatting via WhatsApp throughout this, going, what can we do, how can we work together? And we're definitely going to be collaborating in the coming weeks, and I think we'll do some kind of online events where my audience is a little bit different and his audience is different, but we can help one another. So I think some of those untraditional conversations that you might not necessarily have are developing now, and I think we just need to nurture them and see where they can go. I'm going to just unmute Les from Bath Systems Advice Bureau to see how the team are getting on there. Les, are you unmuted now?
Unmute. There we go. There I am. Hi everyone. Hi. Yes, been really interesting to hear from the sort of variety of speakers, and you know, there's a common theme obviously coming through here, I think, which is something that we've been able to do in the third sector, which is the partnership element. COVID has been a massive learning curve for all of us in all sorts of ways. But actually what it did, it was interesting, you know, your previous speaker around how opportunities were maximised due to COVID. This is exactly what happened in the third sector with us. So we had been progressing conversations with Baines Council and also with Virgin Care and other members of the third sector, such as Baines 3SG, us as a charity, Citizens Advice, Bath Mind, and so forth, about all of us collaborating and working together in a much more effective and efficient way to provide a far better service to all our clients, residents, and patients across Baines, Bath and also East Somerset. Now, those conversations have been going on for about a year. It was very much part of a new strategy for us. And then COVID came along, and you would have thought that in that situation, those kind of very sort of experimental conversations would have just fallen away. But actually, it forced all of the various champions in the various different organisations to come together to see the opportunity, to see obviously a dreadful situation as a positive opportunity. And we very quickly were able to pull together the local authority, the third sector, and the council in a hub, which is the Compassionate Community Hub, which we've now been running through COVID, through the last 3 months. And it's been hugely successful, and it's so far helped over 6,000 callers, families all across Baines with COVID, healthcare, and other issues, especially as we move into this next phase that we've all been talking about, where there's lots of employment issues now, there's lots of mental health and well-being issues that are being explored, and we now have all those organisations in one place to help, all on one phone number. Now, that wouldn't have happened without COVID as the catalyst. So I guess, you know, partnerships are absolutely the way ahead. There are lots of difficult conversations going on around in the third sector and in the local authority now, and also obviously, you know, within the healthcare sector about budgets and costings and so forth. You know, no sector is immune from this. But actually, the work that we've done is actually being held up as a way to continue to work. So it's a double-edged sword, but without doubt, being inventive, and thinking out of the box, and perhaps those conceptual conversations that have been in your head as a business or as a third sector organisation, you know, this is the time to force those conversations and see where they go, because I can testify that actually sometimes these dreams do work out. They do work.
Thanks, Les. Val, would you like to mention your new project that you've launched during the crisis, the Dignity Project? Oh, is she on? We can't hear you and you're unmuted. My end anyway, I think. Val's from Charity People Against Poverty. Val? I'm not sure. She's not going to work, but Val and People Against Poverty have launched the Dignity Project, which is working with, I'll just tell you, the Storehouse Food Bank in Trowbridge. And
hello.
Oh, there we are.
I've got it working.
Yay.
Sorry, I didn't switch the mic on. Yeah, so we've launched our new UK project called the Dignity Project, and it's working with Trowbridge Storehouse, which is the local food bank. We're starting with that one food bank, but we want to stretch it out to other local food banks, Melksham, Warminster, Chippenham. And it's to support families on low or zero income with white goods. So we've found that if a family are in housing that they're waiting to be housed and they're stuck in a hotel, you know, or a B&B waiting for that housing, they can be housed by the council, but they will never be given white goods. And so we want to supply those white goods, but with the purpose that they can give their children, they can cook healthy meals rather than getting takeaways. They can stock up on food by having a freezer, which is, you know, less cost for them in the long run. Yeah, and it's been great. We've had 2 small grants from Wiltshire Council and Neighbourly, which has helped kickstart it as well. So we've supplied 3 items over the last 6 weeks to families that are really struggling through this period, because there are people out there locally that are struggling. So we're really excited about the Dignity Project, and we know that it will help a lot of people.
Thanks, Val. I think it's just important, I think, to have a real understanding of what's going on out there. There are some really big glimmers of hope where things are progressing and we are finding new ways of working, but there are other things going on in the background as well that we need to be aware of and we need to talk about, and we need to try and support one another. So I think, although there has been a little bit of doom and gloom talk this morning, I think actually we need to take away that there's lots of positives here, that people are working together more than ever, and we need to hold on to that and make the most of it. I know we're a few minutes now from wrapping up, but I've just wanted a few people in the room that haven't had an opportunity to speak to say something. Elle, can you quickly just introduce the HR network?
Yeah, thank you, Anita. Hi, everybody. So I co-run the Bath HR network, which was established in October last year, and we did kind of face-to-face events. But since lockdown happened, I really don't like the word lockdown either, but that is the term to use. We've been running weekly HR sessions, and they're really aimed at business owners, business leaders, people managers, and obviously HR professionals, anyone in a position of people, managing people. And every week we cover a topic, whether it be engagement or getting, you know, the transition back to work, or anxiety with your colleagues and how to manage that. So we have guest speakers every week. Our next speaker actually got one of the HR managers from Yo Valley is coming on the 8th to give a very real life kind of case study of how they've been dealing with COVID. So it's been really positive actually, and I run it with two ladies, Holly Rathbone-Ward and Jo Kangas, who are two local HR consultants, and we've got a really great mix of kind of, like I said, HR professionals, business owners, business leaders. It's all really collaborative. If people have got any topics as well that they would like to cover, we always try and invite different speakers and people that are doing really great things, or things in their workplace. So yeah, that's every Wednesday at 10. So if you want any more information on that, let me know. But we always share the invitations and Eventbrite details on LinkedIn as well.
Brilliant, thank you. We've also got Kim Abbott in the room, who's from TrueSpeed, keeping people connected.
Yeah, hi everyone. Hi everyone. It's yeah, so much great content that we're talking about today, and all of it is so incredibly relevant. From TrueSpeed, obviously we've always been a community focused company, but we've just seen an outpouring of local businesses collaborating together, which is just great. So one of the things that we will be launching soon is to help get exposure with some great work that other businesses are doing. We are doing kind of like good news shout outs. So the Dignity Project, it would be great to get some more information about that, and then just anything we can do on social to bring awareness to the great stuff that people are doing. That's something that we're really passionate about. We've also just collaborated on our very first, it's called the Big Bath Giveaway, to help local producers. So we've collaborated with, you know, Taste of Bath, Novel Wines, and basically cherry picked the companies who were like, actually a lot of their revenue would have been closed down from COVID. So our focus at the moment is, again, to connect people, but it's to really show how everybody, no matter what you do business wise, can help in some way, even if that is just a tag on social media. Every little helps, and it's been so good to see everyone just band together, really. So if you've got anything which is good news, please do send it over, and we'll love to kind of help get any awareness out that we can for you.
Brilliant, thanks Kim. I think we're going to have to wrap up now because people have got busy days ahead. We've got Richard Hoffman in the room from our workspace. If anybody needs any partitions for their desks, floor stickers, help with rearranging of offices, I'm sure Richard can help you. And what I'll do is everyone is happy. I know we've lost a few now at the end where they've gone off to meetings and things, but are you all happy for us to share details? I know some are competitors, but sometimes it doesn't matter. You're not quite sure where these things go when conversations start. So great to see you all this morning. Keep positive, keep chatting, and if we can help in any way, just get in touch.
Thanks, Anita. Thanks for
Thank you.
your time.
Helen, as well.
Thanks, Anita.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye all.
Bye, everyone.
For Ellie.